The following case is drawn from public records.
A man thought he was renovating his dream home on Long Island until he found a 55-gallon barrel hidden beneath the floor. Inside, the mummified remains of a woman and her unborn child. What lay buried for 30 years wasn't just a body. It was a secret that had been waiting to surface. According to court records, the discovery happened in September 1999 in Jericho, New York, a quiet suburban neighborhood where lawns stayed trimmed and neighbors waved goodnight. The new homeowner was inspecting his crawlspace when his flashlight hit something odd. A heavy, dust-covered drum wedged between joists. It looked industrial, not domestic. When he pried it open, the smell of chemicals mixed with something older. Time itself. Inside was a woman's body, perfectly preserved by decades of dye and plastic pellets. She had been there since the late 1960s. Police called it the lady in the barrel. According to the medical examiner's report, the victim was a petite Hispanic woman in her late 20s. She was pregnant, nearly full term. Cause of death: blunt force trauma to the head. But inside that barrel, she wasn't alone. Scattered around her body were clues like whispers from another time. Polystyrene pellets used in flower manufacturing, a plastic plant stem, 2 rings, one etched with MHR, and an address book melted by time. Investigators realized this wasn't random. The barrel itself bore factory markings, shipping labels from Melrose Plastics, a Manhattan company that made artificial flowers. And one of its owners, decades earlier, was Howard B. Elkins, a married businessman with a tidy reputation and a vacation home in Florida. The question was simple: how did a woman end up in a barrel from his factory, hidden under his old house? Detectives faced a 30-year-old mystery, but technology had caught up. Using infrared imaging, specialists restored faint writing in that water-stained address book. Among the fragments, one name stood out: Marroquin. The address led to an elderly woman who had once been Reyna's best friend. Reyna Angélica Marroquín, a Salvadoran immigrant who came to America in 1966, chasing the promise of a new life. She'd worked as a nanny and later at Melrose Plastics, where she'd confided to friends that she'd fallen in love with her married boss, Howard Elkins. When she became pregnant, Reyna reportedly told a friend she planned to confront Elkins' wife to tell her everything. That was the last time anyone saw her alive. Investigators contacted Elkins in Florida. He denied knowing anything, but refused to provide a DNA sample. Detectives told him a warrant was coming. The next day, Howard B. Elkins was found dead, shot in the head in his car. Beside him, a note, a shotgun, and silence. A DNA test performed afterward proved what he never wanted to admit. The child inside Reyna's womb was his. There would be no courtroom, no verdict. Elkins' suicide closed the case legally, but not emotionally. Reyna's remains were returned to El Salvador, where her mother had waited 30 years for answers. According to local reports, she once told journalists she'd dreamt her daughter was trapped inside a barrel and crying for help. The dream came true 3 decades too late. neighbors in Jericho learned that the man who'd once owned their quiet house, the one with the perfect hedges, had been hiding a secret grave beneath their feet. It wasn't a haunted house story. It was something worse. A story about trust, power, and silence. Most killers act in rage. Howard Elkins planned in silence. He took the very tools of his trade, the barrel, the dye, the pellets, and used them not to create, but to conceal. For decades, families lived above that crawl space, never knowing what lay beneath. And perhaps that's the deepest horror of all, the ease with which evil hides in the ordinary. When the image of a good man collides with the reality of what he's done, people choose to believe the mask. Elkins's life looked stable, prosperous, respectable. Reyna's erased, until time and science forced the truth into daylight. Sometimes, the monsters don't hide in the dark. They build homes, plant lawns, and smile at their neighbors. If you were his neighbor, what would you have believed? The man with the factory in the family, or the woman whose voice was silenced inside a barrel? Let us know what you think in the comments. And remember, truth doesn't decay. It just waits to be found. This is Mr. H. You're listening to Masked Horror.